For a good 3 minutes, it was dead silent. Then Mr. Jillian sighed. I want to talk to you boys, he said. I gulped and glanced at Manny behind Julian's head. He looked hella nervous, too. Sure, Dad. Mr. Julian nodded. Today I overheard an employee refer to me by a racial slur. For real, I said. Yep, white kid, few years post-grad. I hired him 3 months ago. Manny looked mad. What'd he call you? Doesn't matter, son. Point is, it reminded me of your recent run-in with Jared. I spent the rest of the day wondering if you being in that situation was my fault. Huh? How the heck could it be your fault, Dad? I was wondering the same thing, Martin. There's a lot I haven't told you, Emmanuel, Mr. Julian said. Not sure if I was going to try to shield you or if I hoped things were for the better. But it's something I've been thinking about since Justice was unfairly arrested. He turned to me. The whole incident came as a shock, right? Yeah, it did. Well, that happened and I kept thinking, what if I had been you, Emmanuel? What if it had been you, Emmanuel? I know you would have been downright mind-blown, but I wouldn't have. He shook his head. That didn't sit right with me because as your father, it's something I should have prepared you for, son. And Jared saying what he said, I should have prepared you for that too. No offense, Mr. Julian, I said, but my mom has been preparing me for as long as I can remember, and I was still caught off guard. You were surprised by what Jared said to Manny? Not really, I said. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I wasn't surprised to hear that kid in the office today say what he said. But there's no predicting people's actions. But you can be prepared to face certain attitudes. Perhaps if I'd been more open with my own experiences, Jared's words wouldn't have been so astonishing to Manny. Neither of us responded. Both of you know what I do for a living, he went on. But very few know my struggle to get there. It took me 4 years longer than the average to secure my position because I wasn't continuously overlooked for promotions. I worked much harder than many of my Caucasian colleagues, but rarely received a fraction of recognition. Again, we kept quiet. There are still people in that office who refuse to look me in the eyes, fellas. They'll show me cursory respect for the sake of keeping their jobs, but a good majority of my subordinates recently having to answer to a black man, I was reminded of that today. You fired that guy, right? Manny said. Mr. Julian shook his head. It's not the first time it's happened, and it won't be the last. This is what I mean by preparation. Manny was livid. But Dad, the young man knows I heard what he said. I have no doubt he'll be in his best behavior going forward. People often learn more from getting an undeserved pass than they would from being punished. That's kind of deep, I said. He shrugged. Kill him with kindness. My point is the world is full of guys like Jared and that employee, and most of them will never change. So it's up to you fellas to push through it. Probably not best to talk with your fists in the future, he nudged Manny. But at least you have an idea of what you're up against. Try not to let it stop you from doing your best, all right? He rubbed both of our heads and got up to leave. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it, Martin. Frankly, it's pretty discouraging to think Mr. Jillian has all that authority and still gets disrespected. Hearing it made me realize I still had hope that I once achieved some things. I won't have to deal with the racist BS anymore. That's obviously not the case, though, is it? What do I do with that? I have no doubt you would have done exactly what Mr. Jillian did. But if it had been me, well, I mean, I punched a guy for using the N-word recently, didn't I? The conversation reminded me of something Doc asked me a few days ago. All the work I'm doing to try and get ahead in my life, who am I doing it for? Better yet, what am I doing it for? To prove myself, gain respect, be able to shove it in the faces of people like Jared? I don't even know anymore, Martin. Side note, don't ask about SJ, still getting cold-shouldered. Whatever. Page 115, chapter 13. Just knows something's wrong the moment he climbs into Manny's car Saturday morning, which is kind of unfortunate because it's a really nice day. The guys are supposed to be hitting Stone Mountain, but if Manny's holy wife-beater, flannel, pajama pant, house slippers, and scowl aren't any indication, hiking isn't real high on his to-do list at the moment. You mind if we just drive around for a while, Manny asked once just as the doors closed. Of course not, man. What's going on? Just gets into his seat, belt fastened, and Manny pulls out of the lot. My folks got a call this morning. Mr. Christensen is pressing charges against me for assaulting his son. He takes his hands off the wheel to do the air quotes. You're serious, man? As a heart attack. I tried to get in touch with Jared, but Mr. Christensen answered the phone and told me not to call anymore. Said they'd take out a restraining order if I did. Justice is dumbfounded. Dog, that's some serious BS. You're telling me, man, I've never seen my dad so fired up. Manny shakes his head. All those years that man had looked me in my face and called me his other son, and this is what happens? I don't even know what to say, man. You know what? I don't either. I've had my little awakening over the past week or whatever, but this is like, man, I wasn't prepared for this. All I can think about is how that Socio Evo chat where SJ said Jared and me could do the same crime, and I'm more likely to get the harsher punishment. You remember that? I do. How could he forget? Anyway, sorry about Stone Mountain. I just need to drive and clear my head a bit. All good, Manny, all good. Just settles down to the seat and enjoys his wind in the face. As Manny turns on some music. So catch the ball and shoot that shot. Put on them gloves, boy. Knock off your brother's block. Lace up them track spikes. Get ready to run. Here comes the fun. Wait for the sound of the gun. This is the new Deuce Diggs. Just ask. Yeah, dog. Stuff's poppin'. Crank that up. Manny turns it up so loud the whole car shakes with the bass. When the Range Rover rolls to a stop at a traffic light, Justice looks out his window to find the driver of a white Suburban. White dude, probably early 50s, giving him a dirty look. He turns the music down. Dang! Dude over here is mugging hard. Manny checks the guy out and laughs. Homeboy's got no appreciation for a lyrical genius such as Deuce Diggs. Apparently not, Justice says, shifting his seat. The way the guy is scowling at him reminds me a little too much of the incident. Man, these red lights are long as heck. You're right, dog. When it finally turns green, Manny turns the music back up. The white Suburban is riding alongside the guys now, and the driver seems mad. This guy's giving me the creeps, Justice yells over the music. He's red as a pepper, and he keeps glaring at me with those bulgy eyeballs. I bet he's totally profiling us right now. Probably thinks we're drug dealers or something. Justice's eyes goes to his wrist, and Manny's over there and stops laughing. My bad, dog, he says. I didn't mean. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. It's all good, Manny. You're probably right. They pull to a stop at the 13th Street traffic light. Will you a-holes turn off that GD racket down? The guy in the white Suburban says. A-holes, Justice says. How are we a-holes? Manny leans over the center console to shout out Justice's window. What'd you say, sir? I couldn't hear you over the music. The guy looks like he's about to ignite. I said turn that S down. You weren't lying about him being red, Manny laughs. It's like all the blood in his face is rushed up to, or in his body is rushed up to his face. Justice turns to the man again. What would Martin do, Just? Maybe we should turn it down, Just says. Man, please, this is my car, Manny says. I'm done bending over backwards to appease white people. He pushes a button on the steering wheel and the music gets louder. You worthless sons of bees, he shouts. I know that Mo didn't just say what I think he did. Manny says. Justice's heart jumps between his ears. What would Martin do? What would Martin do? What would Martin? Forget that guy, Manny. Let's just call him. Nah, man, screw that. Manny leans over Just. Hey, F you, man. He shouts out the window, giving the guy the finger. Manny, chill. Why is this dang light so long? Let's just turn it down and get away from this guy, all right? Justice leans forward to reach for the volume knob. O.S., Manny shouts. Chapter 14. Bang, bang, bang. Part 2.